President Muhammadu Buhari is back from his medical trip in London. He arrived Abuja a few hours ago. And the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has responded to the comments of Finance Minister over his claims on the state of the economy and the issue of printing of money and their profile. He says, we do not need to play the ostrich tonight. We get an insider to give us who is really printing money and those claims tonight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloya, Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. After over 2 weeks, President Muhammadu Buhari is back. Returned to the country, spending about 16 days in the United Kingdom for a routine medical checkup. The president left Nigeria for the UK on Tuesday, March the 30th. The trip generated wide criticism and also brought to question the state of health facilities in the country. Reactions have trailed the comments of the president on his health trip. And our reactions have trailed the comments of former Governor Ayodele Fayose on the Southwest Congress of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, which held in a Monday in Osogbo, the capital of Osun State. The media aide of the Oyo State governor, in a statement today, said former Governor Fayose's claims are untrue and unjustified. A statement that it was unfair for any stakeholder to go to a national television to attack Governor Makinde and impugn the integrity of a peaceful and transparent Congress. According to the governor's aide, the allegations by former Governor Fayose, and especially his reference to Governor Makinde as being, quote, quiet and deadly, were baseless, made in bad faith, and should be discountenanced by all well-meaning individuals. He also said there that it appears that those raising unfounded issues against the Congress might be smarting from, quote, failing in an art they thought they had perfected. Before we get into the issues raised by Governor Obaseki, I might remind you of what the issues really are. When Governor Obaseki came to say the federal government is printing more money to pay federal allocation to states, and that the issue of the debt profile of the country is now becoming unbearable. The federal government has responded. The finance minister responded, said that is not true. The governor said, look, we cannot be playing ostrich, and that the federal government should be watchful of how they handle the economy. But before we get into that matter, there are some other stories that we have for you on our political roundup.
Today, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, performed the groundbreaking of the construction of a 37-kilometer rail mass transit red line, which will traverse from Agbado area of the state to the Marina Access, with a capacity of moving more than 1 million commuters daily. The Lagos State government says property owners, tenants affected by the project will get compensation, as the rail project is targeted at becoming operational next year.
We're also paying compensation to the tenants and to the business owners who are tenants to these properties, and so we're doing that to ensure that no one is left behind. We do not want to displace anybody from their economic activity right now, because we want to just reposition them and make sure that Lagos can indeed provide that opportunity for them on an ongoing basis.
The governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, is calling for financial autonomy for other tiers and arms of government to allow them to perform their constitutional duties. Governor Tambuwal insists that the autonomy will enable a faster economic development in the country.
The governors are unequivocally in support of the autonomy of these institutions.
And his counterpart and Governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, continues to make appeal on ways to resolving the security challenges in the country. Governor Samuel Otom has asked the federal government to make a categorical statement on the activities of killer headsmen.
The federal government should publicly condemn the atrocities perpetrated by armed herdsmen, arrest, prosecute, the leadership of Meyati Alakat and Hore and other Fulani socio-cultural groups who have consistently admitted to wanton killings and destruction of communities across the country.
The call for restructuring in Nigeria is still getting attention. In Lagos, some residents met to discuss ways of resolving national issues and re-echoed the call for a united Nigeria and youth involvement in policy and political administration.
Before I bring on my guest tonight, let's also tell you that the different political parties in the country are already making plans for the Anambra governorship election slated to hold in November this year. The All Progressives Congress, APC, is one of them, and it has today released its schedule of activities ahead of that election and then slates the screening of aspirants for the 10th of June this year, while the primary election for APC will hold on the 26th of June. The nomination and interest forms will cost about 22.5 million naira per aspirant. And that's a breakdown for you there. And to our conversation tonight. The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has been reacting to comments made by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, after she denied that the federal government printed 60 billion naira in March to support fund the allocation to state. In a series of tweets today, the governor of Edo State, Mr. Obaseki, says, quote, "While we do not want to join issues with the Federal Ministry of Finance, we believe it is our duty to offer useful advice for the benefit of our country. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, should rally Nigerians to stem the obvious fiscal slide facing our country. Rather than play the ostrich, we urge the government to take urgent steps to end the current monetary rascality so as to prevent the prevailing economic challenge from degenerating further. We believe it is imperative to approach the Nigerian project with all sense of responsibility and commitment and not play to the gallery because ultimately, time shall be the judge of us all." End of quote. The minister told journalists at the Federal Executive Council yesterday that the governor's claim was sad and untrue. So tonight, we forcefully thought that maybe we should allow those who have dissenting opinions on this matter, based on the support or otherwise for either the governor or the minister, to speak on this matter. But we changed our mind and we thought that it would be good for you as a viewer to take something knowledgeable out of that conversation tonight and perhaps not only get an expert opinion, but also get the benefit of an insider information on the workings of government and how things are really. Tonight, we speak with an economist and a member of the President's Economic Advisory Council. Mr. Bismarck Rewani is also a friend of the House. He joins us from Victoria Island in Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Rewani, for your time tonight. You know that when I invite you on this program is just for you to give us a sense because we need to make sense of some of these economic issues that some of us who are mathematical or economically deficient needs to get a sense of. And I hope that you'll be able to help us break it down for an average viewer or average man on the street to understand. First and foremost, printing of money, according to Governor Obaseki, and what the minister said, that, look, we're not printing money. Who is right and who is wrong? Is the federal government printing money to pay federal allocation?
Sean, thank you for having me this evening. The difference between what the governor is saying and what the minister is saying is like trying to differentiate between 6 and half a dozen. Printing money, the responsibility of printing money and administering the legal tender of the country is that of the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria under the Central Bank Act. So the truth is that first and foremost, let us look at what is total money supply in Nigeria. Today, total money supply in Nigeria is about 38.74 trillion naira, of which cash in circulation, cash, is less than 7%, and it's 2.78 trillion. That is what is printed. Then there's what we call narrow money, which is M1, savings accounts and some other things. It comes to 16.55 trillion. Then we have what they call broad money, or wider definition of money, which is M2. It takes it to 38.23 trillion. And total, which is M3, which includes fractional reserves and credit, extra pseudo money, it comes to 38.74. So the reality is that if you take total money supply in Nigeria of 38.74 and cash in circulation is less than 10% of that, you will see that it is not true, or it is not factually correct that people go to Abuja and bullion bonds are printed and people start coming out. However, when you consider how the budget is funded, and if the budget is funded in such a way that it is not backed by depositors or investor commitments, then the investment banker is right to say that you have engaged in what we call ways and means advances. Ways and means advances, which is not supported by investment by depositors, is an elegant way of saying that money is being printed, right? So what is the position of Nigeria's debt, the profile of Nigeria's debt? And before we go to that, let us look at what has happened in the last 12 months. At this time last year, the price of oil dropped to as low as $26 a barrel. Today, we are at about $64 a barrel. Therefore, Nigeria's revenue is much higher today than what it was a year ago. In fact, 200% more. In other words, the revenue profile of Nigeria today is much stronger. But what is important is to understand that if the debt is not managed properly, if the fiscal deficit is not managed efficiently and prudently, what the fear that is being expressed by the governor of Edo State will come to be. Therefore, and the federal government of Nigeria, from what I understand, has accepted. So about 2 months ago, the debt management office said, we are going to securitize the federal government overdraft at the central bank and issue notes to the tune of about 10 trillion naira. If that is done and the interest rates begin to increase and get closer to the rate of inflation, then you get what we call fiscal neutrality, and the economy will be in equilibrium. But the way it is today, if nothing is done and you have interest rates at 2-3% for 90 days and inflation at 18%, you will have a diminishing marginal propensity to save, and that is a recipe for financial chaos. So let me break it down so that ordinary man can understand. The truth is that the total money supply in the country consists of cash, savings deposits, corporate and institutional deposits, and credit. Of this, 2.78 trillion naira is cash. That's under your mattress, under your cupboard, and all sorts of places. Apart from that, total savings is about 16 trillion, and then deposits in addition to that brings it to 38 trillion, and that's what you have. Now, the average fact that has been shared in this country is about 700 billion. 7 times 12 is about 8.4 trillion naira. So if you're actually printing cash, the cash in circulation will be not 2.78, it will be about 8 trillion naira if you printed everything. However, what you have today is that the Central Bank of Nigeria has accommodated the federal government to the tune of about 10 trillion naira in terms of credit. And that credit has to now be backed up and securitized, and that is what the debt management office is doing. So, but it is a role. The central bank is defined as two things. One, the banker to the government, and the banker to banks. So the responsibility of the Central Bank of Nigeria is to provide banking services to the government and accommodate its credit requirements. But in so doing, it has to be done responsibly, and instruments have to be issued. What happened? There was a primary treasury bill issue today, and for 1 year paper, it was 9%. A year ago, that was going at about 3 or 4%. So the federal government is aware that artificially suppressed interest rates will do damage to the long-run equilibrium of this economy. And I think that is what is happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll take a breather, Mr. Rewaning. You've given us all the technical terms in all of this. But before we come back from that break, if you can just give us a negative or positive Mrs. Mohammed is right according to what you said, if we can get you right. And Governor Obaseki is also right in his own sense. Is that what you're saying invariably? Okay, so let's take a breather. And when we come back, we find out more. We have more information for you right here on those claims and the counterclaims. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation with Mr. Bismarck Rewani, an economics, the CEO of Financial Derivatives and a member of the President's Economy Advisory Council. Thank you, Mr. Rewani, tonight for trying to help us get a sense of what these conversations around whether printing money or not printing money to pay federal allocation to state, and based on that conversation, because people will argue that Governor Obaseki is an insider, is a member of the National Economic Council as a governor. And it's also because he's an expert in that industry also, so he knows a lot. Some other will argue that the federal government know the true state of things. So where are we in all of this matter? You told us before we went on that break that trying to get the sense of this is like defining 6 1/2 a dozen, which more or less are the same. So I was asking you before we went on that break, that give us a sense of what this means. Mr. Obaseki is right, and Mrs. Ahmed is also right. Is that right, Mr. Rewani?
Okay, let me put it this way. Mr. Obaseki's fears, if nothing is done to actually embark on fiscal consolidation, you may end up with what we can call fiscal recklessness. Minister Ahmed's position is that, yes, we are aware of our responsibilities. Yes, revenue that is shared is revenue earned, right? And at times we borrow to cover our deficit, and that borrowing is done responsibly by issuing paper. Governor Obaseki is an investment banker. He knows that if debt is issued without investor subscription, then you run the risk of having a bloated ways and means advances, which is the same thing as printing money. Are we at that point? No. The reality is raising the concern necessary? Yes, as a governor, as a member of the Economic Council, he knows that and is raising the alarm. Are there other ways of raising the alarm? Well, that's a question of style. But let me make one thing clear. Total amount of FAAC shared in the last 12 months is 7.73 trillion naira. 4 trillion naira went to the federal government, 4.07, 2.06 went to the states, and 1.58 went to the local government. At this time, we saw, in spite of the fact that the economy contracted by 6% in Q2, and then contracted a little bit more little bit less in Q3, we have actually seen that there's been a 4% decline in the amount of revenue shared by the state and federal governments. Why? Because the price of oil has recovered and the economy is kind of recovering slowly. But that does not mean that there are no problems. There are serious problems. When you look at you say it's not about debt and deficit funding, it's what you use the debt and deficit to do. In the past 10 years, our external debt has almost tripled. It went from $10 billion to $33 billion recently. But guess what? Total factor productivity, that is the utilization of capital stock, the optimal use of capital stock has actually gone negative. We have total factor productivity of -4. We have labor productivity of -2. So what are we borrowing for? What are the use of proceeds? To pay for petrol, to pay for kerosene, and pay for consumption, and at times pay for leakages. So we need to arrest these things, and these are urgent priorities of fiscal responsibility. Recently, the federal government got approved the debt to GDP ratio, which was previously at about 20%, now at 40%, to accommodate this. The federal government also announced that they would securitize the overdraft at the central bank. But this is not enough. What you need to do is to actually hold people responsible. What have you borrowed, and what have you used the proceeds of the borrowings to do?
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that, because each time this conversation comes as regarding how much we're borrowing and whether or not we can bear it as a nation, the conversation goes from the federal government's point of view that it is something that we can bear based on debt to GDP ratio. But if you look at economic indicators and perhaps what was obtainable before the government of President Buhari came into force, we look at our GDP at 568.5 billion US dollar. You look at the GDP growth rate, you look at the external reserve, the external debt, and the issue of inflation. Inflation at the time in 2014 was 9.6, but it's in double digits at the moment. So is it in the right place to think that we are sliding based on what Governor Obaseki has raised? Are we in the right place, or there is a problem?
No, let's face it this way. The economy is performing suboptimally. And the reality is that it could have been better than this. Some decisions have been made, some implementation, some steps have been taken which could have been much more efficiently implemented. But having said that, the reality is that our debt to GDP ratio is lower than the average. But at the same time, even the debt that you have accumulated, you have not used it to increase productivity. And that shortfall in output is what is manifesting today in higher inflation. And so you now need to complement fiscal policy with monetary policy by actually bringing up interest rates so that savings, the level of savings will increase. People are getting 10%, 8% on treasury bills, they're not getting 1 or 2%. And so they're not saving. What are they doing? They're consuming. And that in itself, the moment savings drop, investment drops. And investment drops, you have high unemployment. So we have unemployment at 33%. We have inflation at 18.17%. And we have food inflation at over 22%. So there is a broad level of economic problems. But the issue is that what steps are being taken to address this? There are structural problems and there are operational problems. The structural problems are what you talk about cost-reflective tariffs, about pricing, removing subsidies. The operational problems, even the revenue that the government gets, is it being deployed efficiently? If it is not being deployed efficiently, how do we optimize the use of this revenue? One, and two, how do we do the other things? Now, one way of solving the inflation problem is that we can disburse. We have external reserves of about $35 to $36 billion. If we disburse $4 to $5 billion of this to give manufacturers their raw materials, and that will bring down prices, and the pass-through effect, it will also ameliorate some of the problems in the parallel market. So you do that together with the fiscal stimulus, right? And then you address that. But there are other problems like security. If food cannot come from the hinterland to the urban areas, if the price of petrol has increased and there's an impact on cost of doing business, all of these things will come together. So I think in a tangential way, that this is an economic scorecard, and the report card is not looking beautiful.
So that's exactly the point I wanted you to land on, because you have just 20 seconds to go. I mean, if some of our viewers don't really understand those indices of economics like you are explaining, but we can easily read how the graph is growing. In the inflation rate, you can see that it's growing up, and we also can see the debt to GDP ratio also going up. These are sort of worry, isn't it? Can you tell us, just in 20 seconds, that the handling of the economy is okay, or is something that causes for worry?
Let me say it's work in progress. You cannot say it's okay if unemployment is 33 and inflation is at 18%. Yes, but the point is that it's work in progress, and all hands have to be on deck to ensure that this is done and that the outcome is that it reduces the misery index. The misery index is unemployment plus inflation, and that is getting higher and higher.
All right.
And that has to be brought down almost immediately. If not, we end up in a crisis.
Mr. Bismarck Irwani, you say it's a work in progress and a path for someone who will say that is a rough one to ply. But we hope that we will get it better as the day progresses. Thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Irwani, for giving us a sense of what this means. Difficult things to unwrap. But thank you so much for the thought that you shared tonight.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimberley. Bye for now.